All right, welcome back to the Formula One podcast, home of Audie's Yawns. We are back after a short break. Let's jump into the upcoming French Grand Prix, which is happening July 24th. It's in 2 weeks' time. Arjun, can you talk a little bit about the circuit and the racetrack?
Yeah, so the French Grand Prix is unique in that it is one of the historic tracks that is also one of the worst for racing. It's a really boring track because it's essentially built inside a car park. And it's this really twisty circuit with hairpins at both ends and these really ugly, gaudy stripes throughout that make it impossible to figure out where the cars are and what they're doing. It was never intended for F1. It was used as a testing track for many different series. And we can see that in the quality of the racing. It's basically non-existent. We do get a few surprises every year. Last year, we had a great battle between Lewis and Max. And you do get some, few interesting weather conditions here and there, but that's about it. That's what we can expect for this coming race.
Audie, if we're talking about, like Arjun said, historic but not really relevant or valuable tracks to F1, what has been the discussion or talks about bringing in new tracks, new Grand Prix to make it more interesting? We're seeing, two American tracks, Austin and what was the other one?
Miami.
Miami, and
And
then
Vegas too.
and talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Vegas. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's a lot of modernization going on. We talked about this last episode, bringing it to the United States, what that can do for the sport, which is all good and great until I started hearing rumors. We all started hearing rumors that they're maybe now thinking of subbing out some of like the classic hallmark Formula One races like Spa and Monaco. And I think it totally loses the identity of the sport without those sort of flagship races and subbing them for I am super happy that they brought races like Miami and Las Vegas. Now it's like something that we can go and watch, that I want to go and watch next year. But at the same time, I don't think you do that at the cost of removing the history and the historic tracks. Now, to Arjun's point about the Paul Ricard being famous, whatever, it is a boring track. If there's no crash or nothing, the race becomes a little stale. But I did hear talks of a potential street circuit in Nice, in the south of France. I assume this would be very similar to a race in Monaco, which I think would be awesome. I mean, if you want to keep it in France, because racing, I understand, has a big history in France. So yeah, it would be a little harsh to just remove a track. And the pretext to this is that they were considering removing the Paul Ricard circuit from the calendar. But I think it would be like an awesome solution to replace it with one in Nice. I understand it may not be as action packed, but this one was boring anyway. So I think that would be a great idea, but F1 needs to be very careful about what sort of tracks they add and remove. Because again, as I said, you don't really want to blemish or remove the essence of Formula One and its history.
Yeah, Arjun, I know you wanted to get your insight on this as well, and then we'll jump to comedy.
Yeah, so I think the past few races have shown that traditional tracks do have a place in F1. Some do, right? Austria, amazing racing. Silverstone, obviously amazing racing. And you can see that tracks that were purpose built for Formula One and for great overtaking do have a place in the sport. And some of these new street circuits can be a bit boring as well. Even Jeddah, it was purpose built, but it is a street circuit. And you see that it eventually just becomes one long DRS train. And so I think there's a very fine line between the whole like fervor around street circuits and the Middle East and all these cool new glitzy places, and removing some of these old historic places. I think that it's a bit too far to remove Spa and Monaco. Those are sort of the token races of F1 that even non-F1 fans know about the Monaco Grand Prix. I don't think that we need, it's a bit of a hot take. I don't think we need any more Middle East races and oil money. I think there's enough of that in the sport already.
I mean, there was also talks about like reviving one in South Africa. But again, that was at the cost of, I think, Spa. And yeah, it would be cool to like get South Africa back. I know Lewis Hamilton is a big supporter of that, but I don't think it's worth it at the cost of Spa. Spa is like one of my favorite tracks. I'm sure it's a lot of people's favorite tracks, drivers included. So just one thing to be vigilant about.
Yeah, no, I agree. That does bring an interesting point. Tommy,